Question number 5 comes from Candace. She says, I've been trying to catch you on Periscope, but I'll try it here. Could you take us back to when you were first transitioning into your business from valeting and tell us what you did to grow it from scratch? What was the biggest driving factor in your success, and what would you have done differently at the very beginning? And not to leave Laura out, I would love to know about your initial transition from client to business partner. Aw. Love you guys. Wish I could make it to T3, but my time off request was denied. Oh, Candace, I remember that. That's so sad. I'm so sad about that. Next time. Yes, definitely next time. Oh, it's a great question. Nice question to end the episode on.
What's that, is it a Wayne's World thing where it's like, right? Like a flashback?
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Cool. So like, we're flashing back. Okay. Candace. How did I transition from poor, broken down valet to business owner and ruler of my kingdom? Well, that might be stretching it, but that's a really good question. Yeah. It's kind of a fun question, and it's complicated, so it's hard to answer in kind of a quick, succinct thing, especially with my brain. But so, first thing I did was realize that things weren't where I wanted them to be, right? So I was valeting, I was 40, I was broke, I was unhappy, I was poor. Did I mention that I was unhappy and poor, and like my credit was destroyed? I was living in a tiny spot. I had to borrow money if I had to take my dogs to the vet. Like I was getting hand-me-down cars from my folks, thank goodness. It was all like pretty rough and tumble for like a middle-aged dude. So I knew things were bad. But I didn't know what to do. Always searching, always looking, trying to find answers. But literally I'd been stuck for so long that part of me, I think, thought, you might just be stuck forever.
It's your spot. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what I did was I stumbled onto some good books. Stumbled might be not the best term because I was looking always, but I got into personal development stuff, which I know has got like all sorts of like touchy-feely weird stuff that people are like, oh, you know, what is this culty kind of silliness? But like personal development stuff, when it's done right with people that actually are preaching the gospel, walking their talk and living the life that they're actually talking about, is a very different thing than people that are out there promising things. There you go, Junior. Promising things that they've never created, never built, don't live authentically, stuff like that. So I got into Larry Winget, and I got into Wayne Dyer, and I got into Randy Gage, and I got into Darren Hardy, and of course I got into Jim Rohn, and then several others along the way. But all these guys, you know, like I quickly learned, because I was studying my butt off, because I wanted to get the hell out of the 40-year-old stuck valet thing. I was studying my butt off. I found out very quickly that influence was a huge, 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 huge impactor, if that's a word, on your trajectory and where you're headed. And so what I did was the smartest thing I think maybe that I ever did, which is, you know, something we talk about at T3, is I did like my Stalin-esque purge, I always call it, which, you know, if anybody knows your history, Stalin was he was pretty ruthless with like getting rid of the folks that he didn't want around him. Mine was built on a more positive note. And that was basically, whether it was virtual or real, I got rid of everybody, whether on Facebook or Twitter. I don't think Instagram or that stuff was even around, but Facebook, Twitter, any of the virtual stuff, books, movies, audio, friends, family, associates, co-workers, anybody that didn't have the right stuff that I felt was going to move me in the right direction, toast, gone. And not in a nasty, mean way. I just moved away from them. I just created space, and what I did was I filled that space with all these other folks that were sharing really valuable information. For me, information that felt like truth. And so I started learning very simple concepts like personal responsibility and the power of influence, and my favorite saying from Larry, if your life sucks, it's because you suck, and all sorts of things that no one had ever taught me before. So I'd always been kind of stuck in this like blaming, not taking responsibility, you know, accusing circumstances for where I was stuck at, blaming my family, blaming my boss. I mean, all, you know, the same old, you know, tired old excuses, as Jim so famously says, like, you know, like, I threw my excuse list away, but some folks have found it and they're using it these days, you know. I mean, it's like, it's because it's universal, like, it's just human nature. We're looking for ways out so we don't have to take the heat ourselves. Luckily, I was in a space where I was so kind of beat down by things not going well that I was really ready to take a look at my responsibility in all this. And so, to kind of cut to the chase, I did a ton of personal development work. Laura was like, you know, early on, she would see me like, you know, reading for hours and hours, and I'm a slow reader, so I was really trying to put time in and trying to kind of like accelerate the process and play a lot of catch up. So I got rid of all the negative, I replaced it with all positive, which really accelerated where my mindset went, which started to change everything, right? So it took me out of like, this is all I can get, this is me, I'm going to be an employee, money is for crappy people that take advantage of others, you know, how are you going to get ahead in this economy, how are you going to get ahead with this government? I mean, you could go on and on and put me in a place of like, I don't give a crap about any of that stuff. Right. I'll make this stuff happen myself. I'll find my way, I'll create my own possibilities, my own opportunities, my own advantages, and if I don't, it's all on me. And that changed everything. When you go into that space of owning, you become super liberated. You become super liberated. I'm gonna need more time for this one. And you become super powerful and empowered. And so that was kind of the beginning of how that all started. And so then I decided, like, you know, I was really motivated by like seeing Dog Whisperer and things like that. They're like, wow, dog training could be something where you're not just like training dogs, but you can impact people's lives. And that became something really valuable, really powerful, and had a lot of pull for me. So started doing that, started doing dog walking while I was valeting. Always really careful, always really cautious. I didn't just dump the valet gig and be like, I'm gonna be the dog walker of all time. I stayed with the valet gig until the walking gig was solid. Then I stayed with the walking gig until the training gig was solid. And then I slowly jettisoned those as I kind of kept moving forward. Laura jumped on board to save my behind as things started building and actually becoming more and more demanding with client interactions and administrative stuff, thing. Just all this stuff that I was focused on some really great stuff, but I needed help with a lot of other stuff. Yeah. And luckily this lady had a lot of really great skills that I didn't have. So we talked about, or she said like, come on, let me help you out. And eventually I gave in, which was the smartest thing I ever did. And we quickly found that we had a really great synergistic, really fantastic chemistry and energy working together on ideas, like literally sharing a brain. We could be talking about something and like say the same thing. I mean, it sounds cliche, but it would happen all the time. And so we would text and call and be like, hey, what about, I was just thinking that, you know, and then we go on and on and on. And so that's how it all kind of got started. It got started with deciding like, things are crappy, things are shitty, I don't want this anymore. How do I get out of it? Here's the roadmap. The roadmap is all of these positive people while getting rid of all of these negative people, changing the mindset, changing the beliefs, which changed the actions, which changed the reality, and got things moving forward while being cautious, while being smart, while bringing good people on, and then leveraging other people's strengths and ideas and what they bring to the table.
Like goal setting too. Tons of things like, you know, just setting things, like Sean was really good about like putting stuff up that he wanted to do. I sent him a list the other day of things that there was an article on Success Magazine about like the 7 habits, not of just highly effective people, but 7 habits
like
of like
successful people.
And it just reminded me of him. He has like a relentless quality to going after his goals. And sometimes it's like almost like tunnel vision. Like I used to call it like Sean land. I'd go over to like or I call it the Great Pyramid Scheme in Seanland, because I'd go over for like, okay, I'm just gonna go over for a normal like 6-hour, 8-hour work day, you know. I had like 2 other jobs going on as well, and all of a sudden it'd be like 1 in the morning and I'd be like editing something for him, and he'd be over my shoulder like, oh, can we just do it? Just one more thing. Can we just do? And like at the time I probably wasn't as like laughing about it, but it was a very unique Sean quality that like,
and we were both kind of excited at the same time.
It wasn't like he was slave driving, but there was just there's an element of like literal, like the persistence was like
almost a desperation.
It had a desperate quality to it. And actually in this list that I sent him, they were talking about like that's actually normal for people that have some success, have successful like mindset. And so yeah, I mean, I think anything like you, as long, you know, he did all those things, but then he also had like really strong vision for what he wanted. And everything that's here today, I can say that we, like, I know you had it probably long before you even met me, but I know that together we definitely had this great vision 5 years ago of like a place where training, like a lot of training can be happening, a lot of great people working with us, a lot of awesome people.
Yeah, we've got that stuff written down.
Yeah.
I mean, you brought in a chart that you found when we moved with a ton of goals.
It's like from 2012 probably.
And there's a lot of stuff on there that's come to pass.
Yeah, and I remember when we wrote it out, we were like, whew, this is going to be a big one. Like DVDs and like,
who do we think we are?
And New Orleans, but we had really good like, you know, pushing each other, kind of like, hey, yeah, of course it's gonna work. Fuck yeah, it's gonna work, you know.
Yeah. the naivete about like, this is what we want and we'll find our way.
Yeah.
The lack of honestly, the lack of cynicism, the lack of like, oh, reality, the lack of like, how are you going to get there? Because honestly, like reality can be your biggest stumbling block, because reality will feed you a million different reasons why you can't get there.
I think Will Smith actually says like you have to be delusional to have huge dreams.
Yeah.
And I love that, because there are so many times I remember as I like younger, my early 20s, feeling like I was crazy, like I had like delusions, but I'm like, it's because, but I'm working for the delusion. I'm not just sitting there like, oh, I hope this is happening. I hope, like, I'm working hard for it, but my dreams are kind of like delusional. And when I heard him say that, I was like, yeah, great. Yeah. Okay, I'm on the right path.
Yeah, they have to be. Junior, get out of here. You're delusional. They have to be delusional because you're trying to create things that don't exist yet.
Yeah.
And there is a certain amount of like faith, delusion, whatever you want to call it, and like stepping into a chasm that you don't actually know where your foot's going to hit.
Yeah.
So there's all that stuff, and then of course we hustled our asses off. The real low down dirty truth about this is like all this like positive influences and leveraging each other's strengths.
That would be nothing without
we worked our butts off like
7 a.m. to 1 a.m. pretty much every day for
stacked with dogs,
2 years,
doing everything ourselves.
And then we'd take some time off. Like we weren't like, and we were having fun with it too. And then we'd like go spend 2 weeks in New Orleans. But in 2 weeks in New Orleans, all we do is be planning for the next bout of next thing that we're going to be doing, and then how we're going to grow and how we're going to grow into New Orleans market. And like, so we just had fun with it. I think like a lot of people see hustle stuff as being like, you know, oh, we got to trudge through this to get to the top of the mountain. But we really had fun and all that, and we still have fun. You know, it's still a constant.
Yeah, I mean, you can adjust your hustle. Hustle should be hard work, and trust me, both of us, like, there's no getting around this fact that like we do a lot of mundane, hard ass, like, same shit every day.
Part of our week,
right? I mean, literally, like, I respond to every comment on Facebook and Instagram. That takes forever.
Right.
Laura's editing videos and overseeing and helping, you know, with the employees and with our marketing and structuring and branding plans. I mean, like, we're talking about lots and lots and lots of work. So you can't forget that part of it. So you got to leverage all the good stuff. And then just to kind of close this out, she asked how we got there. Besides all that, hustling all of the little things that are like not glamorous things, like going to vets, getting business cards made, a lot of stuff I don't do anymore.
A lot of free dogs, a lot of videos
free dogs, videos up the yin yang.
Most of the videos you see is funny. Like most of our like famous videos, like not Desmond, Woody, but like back in the day at Costello, we have a lot of great videos that got us a foothold. They're all dogs that were for free. Just come train with us. Let's figure this out. Like great clients or rescue people or something like that. Like the Manny video or like...
Anytime it was slow, our strategy was always to take free dogs and train them and video them and share it.
Yep.
Honestly, like you want to know our secret of how we dug ourselves out? By giving away a ton of value, a ton of like quality stuff for free. And anytime it was slow, we just would bring them in, find a way to put it, find a way to capture it and share it in a way that was helpful for people.
And I can say, you know, just from my end of that question, you know, I was in a job and I was in a great job. I was doing some other stuff that I was like, I was into, it was great. But when as soon as I started working with my own dog with Sean, I was like, I love this. I love being outside. I love this, like, I love what he's doing. I loved Sean. Like, I was like, he's like, great. This is such a great person to be around. And like, I just remember trying to like figure out a way. And basically I like wormed my way in. I was like, hey, can I walk your dogs for free? And I'm going to take up dog walking gigs. So I was making like, at that time, probably like $40 a day, driving all around the city doing dogs like for I did like cheap dog walks for some of our clients because I was like, but it cost me $10 in gas to get there and it was like 15 or 20 bucks for the walk. And then I walked up Sean's dogs for free and worked with him for free.
Yeah.
I had some savings that I was working on using, but I just had, I really wanted it so bad. And I think like, that's Cujo. I think,
but what also did you do during that time?
Well, I was writing.
But what you shared with me, like how important that drive, all those driving around, because all you did was listen to Jim Rohn the whole time.
My whole dog walking career, if I can even call it a career, was just listening to Jim Rohn and Zig Ziglar and books on tape, all the stuff that I needed. And it literally like, it's such a beautiful thing that now, I feel like the first time in like 5 years, I actually feel like there's a little bit of like progress being made in terms of like I look at this life right now is what I wanted when I was 20. And I didn't know how to get it, but I knew that there was a way and I was going to find a way. And you know, doing it with Sean and us working our butts off, but it took 5-6 years for me to finally feel like there are some days now where I'm like, where's like the 1 a.m. training session? Like where's all those like stuff? There's actually people helping out. I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So it's not, there's nothing easy about it, but if you can have, you know, someone that's fun or just have some fun with it, it's going to be, make it easy. Yeah. And I think we're like, oh, another day, another dollar. Like never.
And I think when it comes down to it, I always say the same thing, and it comes down to how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
Like we can give you all sorts of details and strategies and what did we do to get there? But honestly, the only thing that the common denominator, the theme that connects the connective tissue through all this is how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
And we both wanted it. And when we say it, we don't just mean dog training. We wanted it. We wanted growth. We wanted expansion. We wanted freedom. We wanted more financial freedom. We wanted more. We wanted
people around us that were great.
We wanted to build teams. Yeah. We wanted to build organizations. We wanted to do all these things. Yeah. So if you want it bad, the whole thing is we always talk about drive. You want it bad enough, you'll find your answers. Yeah. The answers are all out there. You just got to want it bad enough. And so I think that's a great way to close this out.
Yeah.
This has been the longest answer in the history of our world. This is going to be a 3-hour thing.
But just real quick, I'll close this episode.
Close it. Close it, lady.
So my last thought is just about my favorite thing about Sean when I met him, besides all of the things.
Aww.
But my favorite thing was like watching him do work with stuff that he wasn't great at. And I mean that in a nice, kind way. It's like, not all of us are great at everything.
There's a lot of it.
He was trying so hard to like he was just figuring it out, like flying by the seat of his pants, because what other way you're gonna do it? He wasn't the guy who was like, oh, I'm gonna set up, I'm gonna get first I need a facility, and then I need all these permits, and I need a bit, like, he kind of didn't put the cart before the horse. He like went out on like a crazy Wild West horse ride, and he really just like, I saw him.
I just jumped in the cart.
He literally like, he put together videos. He didn't know how to, like, he wasn't good at editing at the time. He wasn't
writing.
Like, good at writing, but man, did he work his ass off on it. And I watched it and I was like, I kind of came from a different place where I was a little bit more of a perfectionist on stuff, and a little bit more like, I actually had editing skills, and I'd done some writing and stuff. You were really
talented at a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but I watched and I'm like, the difference between me with the skills and this guy who doesn't have that experience from before is he's fucking doing it. And that's like what got me into like, this is the person to put your money behind. You know what I mean? And I just, it's something that I think everyone should hear, because if you look back, go back to like 2010, 2011 on the Facebook page and look at Sean's writing, look at our very first videos, which were all him. Like, look at all that stuff and think about where the journey has gone. You read stuff now and you see videos of stuff that he's done now, and you're like, oh, well, I could never compete with that because it's just natural talent. Fucking no, it isn't. It's so far from natural talent. I mean that in the nicest way.
You're absolutely right.
But he was just like so scrappy, and man, that's what you all need to be. And I considered myself scrappy, and I was like I was always scrappy, but I was way.
That's why we got along so well.
Yes, but I also felt like, wow, I got bested in the scrappy department here. So.
Which is because I came from a more desperate place.
Yeah, which is great.
So,
great.
You know, so that's why sometimes folks that come from more challenging situations, come from more challenging situations, sometimes get a leg up just because the harder it's been, the more you want, the more desperate you are. There's that desperate thing again. The more desperate you are to try and like prove your value, prove your worth, show that you can do something, create an impact in the world, be special, you know, all of this stuff. And so I wouldn't change any of it.
No.
I wouldn't change any of it for the world.
Hug you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, that was special.
This girl.
Thanks, Candace.
Together, unstoppable.
The Brady Bunch.
Give me this. Oh, the Brady Bunch?
There's a line in the Brady Bunch movie where he says like, all like singly.
Could you like do like a thing where it's like all of us in the box and we're like looking up and down at each other?
Okay, we can do that.
All right, guys, thank you so much.
Right.
This is going to be our first mini series.
Yes.
You'll have to watch this in like 5 different episodes, but that was really fun to answer.
Yeah, that's a cool one. Candace,
Thanks.
we'll miss you so much at T3. I hope to see you. You would have gotten that whole spiel in person, but now we gave it to you now.
All right, guys.
Love you.
We got to go. Any giveaways? Anything we need to know about?
Nothing today. Nothing today.
But we want emails from rescues.
I have one that's in the running and for next week, but any other ones.
Tell them the email to send.
thegooddogway@gmail.com. Thanks.
If you're a rescue or a shelter, tell us your story, why you want why you want the prong collar DVD. And we're sending out free copies to those who send out good stories. So we, you know, feel good about sending it out to you guys. And we're slowly making a change, guys.
Yeah,
things are changing. It's looking good. All right.
Thank you.
We got to go.
Okay. Bye.